Welcome to Rock Solid, the Round Rock Business Leaders Podcast. Join your host, Bryan Eisenberg, as he explores the journeys of entrepreneurs and companies across Round Rock, Texas. From startups and nonprofits to large organizations, each guest shares their passion for doing business in this thriving community. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rock Solid. I'm Bryan Eisenberg, and I'm joined today by my friend Cam Hauser from ActionWorks. Welcome.
Thank you, Bryan. Pleasure to be here.
First of all, I love the name of your company because I want to kind of explain a little bit about who you are and what you do. You are well known for developing the 3-day startup. Mm-hmm. You've been teaching entrepreneurism and all that at UT. You're about to work on a new program that's going to be released here in Round Rock, kind of a new startup incubator kind of thing. So we'll definitely talk about that. But I just love that combination of words, action works. Because if there's one thing I've learned in 30 plus years of working around entrepreneurs and startups and all that, is the ones that succeed are the ones who are predisposed to getting action. Mm-hmm. What made you come up with that name?
Bryan, you are speaking to my soul right now. When I was younger in school, I got really frustrated with an overemphasis on theory and ideas, and how often that theory, when you went and applied it in the real world, it just fell apart. And so one of the things I've learned, I've been in the game helping entrepreneurs, building startup programs, accelerators for almost 15 years now. And you notice that the ones who win, they're not always doing the correct right thing, but they are doing something.
Correct.
And I know a lot of brilliant people who aced the SATs and they went to Harvard, and they're thinking brilliant thoughts on the couch. But they're not out there talking to customers. They're not out there sending emails and then trying again when they don't get a response, because we all know that's what happens when you send the first email. Yep. And so just from having done this for so long, that's been the theme that keeps going up. And I'm not an idiot, but I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room. But one thing that I'm quite good at is taking action. And to me, that was just very, very motivating, knowing that I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I need to be the one who's consistent, shows up, and keeps trying. And that was why we decided to call the company ActionWorks.
And I love it because it is the fundamental thing that holds most people back. Is they dream for years. You know, they think, hey, I've got a great business idea. Why shouldn't I do this? And look, you and I both know, right? Here we're sitting in Round Rock. There are hundreds of barbershops and hundreds of attorneys, and there's tons of businesses, tons of HVAC companies that we were just talking about earlier, right? But there are ones that really just do things differently that just make them stand out, and it's that doing that makes them succeed. It's not the dreaming and the thinking and all of that. And, it's why I'm really fascinated by this concept of what you're starting here with the Round Rock Chamber, because you've been involved with our Round Rock Chamber Entrepreneur Committee for a while, and some of the events, like you've been a judge at the Startup Day, and we have had guests comment about the great feedback you've given them and how that's helped change what they do as well. So again, kudos to what you do. But we have a new incubator that just got started here, right? The generator beta that's working. We've got all kinds of events for entrepreneurs. Why did you and the team at the chamber feel, you know what? Yes, we need something a little different. This Jumpstart program. Can you explain to us what you're planning on doing with it?
I'd love to talk about that. So the generator program looks like it's going to be a great addition to the Round Rock ecosystem. But I think the chamber and the city at large is just so passionate about helping more entrepreneurs and steering more entrepreneurship in the community, that they thought, why not add something else to the mix? And I've been building programs for quite a while, and I've worked on the ground in 23 different countries in a lot of different communities. I've done this in Rio de Janeiro. I've done this, next door to the Outback in Australia. But I'm based in Austin, and I've done a lot of work there. But I just really see a lot of potential and magic in Round Rock. And again, as you mentioned, I've been part of the startup competition, and every time I come here, I'm just thrilled to be here and get more and more excited when I meet all the fantastic entrepreneurs here. So I just want to help add a little more tailwind to the magic that's already happening here.
And let's distinguish, because I think a lot of people confuse when we talk about startups and entrepreneurs. Are we talking about only tech businesses, or are you talking about solopreneurs, or even the creator economy?
Sure.
Like how are you differentiating that?
Sure. So the Generator program is a little more focused on venture backable startups, and a startup is by definition a technology-enabled business that's going to scale.
Yep.
We will have plenty of those in the Jumpstart program that we're going to do. But we're also going to have plenty of opportunity for if someone wants to do something more SMB, something that maybe they're not trying to take over the world just yet, eventually.
Yeah.
But in the short term, again, they just want to serve their community. And there'll be plenty of people who show up to this program who just feel ready to be their own boss or ready to kind of take control. As you said, they've been thinking about something for quite a while and had the itch. And one of the things I've found doing this kind of work is that, again, information is fairly commoditized at this point.
Sure.
We have the internet, we have LLMs, right? But there's something really powerful about being in a room full of other people who are supporting you when you're going through some of the challenging stuff, like you have reached out to investors or customers and no one's responding. It's much better when you've got other people to share in that journey. So this program will be very focused on the kind of the community elements, that and of course taking a lot of action, not a lot of lectures here. And if you'd like me to go into what some of the exercises we'll be doing, I'd be happy to do it.
We can maybe tease one or two of those out a little later. I'm more curious because there are a lot of programs out there for entrepreneurs, especially in Austin and stuff like that. And I wrote an article last year about why Round Rock's a great city to base your startup out of. Mm-hmm. And I was talking more of tech startup, and one of the main ones, of course, was the fact that we have parking downtown, free. That was just one perk, but there's something about the ecosystem here that drives that entrepreneurism. We have an amazing community. We've had Judge Gravel, who's the SBA advocate here, and he talked about, Williamson County is the #1 fastest growing county in the country. What is that magic formula? Because you've seen so many of these other entrepreneur programs out there that makes what you're doing so different than the standard, we're going to get a whole bunch of entrepreneurs together in a program. And
for sure. Before I launch into that, I do want to say real quick, Round Rock is special. You're joking about the parking, but being able to get together and be around other people doing this kind of thing is actually a huge deal. And a lot of cities where it's really unaffordable, people never leave the house. They're on the couch all day.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in the internet. I'm a very early AI, product builder, done a lot of stuff, but there is something special about humans being in a room together, right? So Round Rock, I think, really permits that in a meaningful way. That being said, we're also in Central Texas. Texas is, in my opinion, the best entrepreneurial state in the country. We are, it's a place where in Texas, a lot of the entrepreneurial scene here functions because you can explain the business model. I love Silicon Valley, done a lot of work out there, but Silicon Valley also, you can jot something on a napkin and there's money raining down from the sky, which is wonderful for Silicon Valley. And we need that as part of the larger innovation ecosystem. But in the rest of the country and the rest of the world, it doesn't really work that way. And so being able to understand, here's how you get your first customer. That is a big deal, right? And users are something that, again, technology products are always thinking about. But a lot of times when we're working in communities like Round Rock, the thing is customers, the person who actually pays you money, okay? So that's why I think Round Rock is so special. But if you want me to get into, again, what's the difference in terms of the kind of programming I build? The main thing, there's a laundry list. But to me, what it means to start a company in 2026 is wildly different than what it was even 5 or 10 years ago. I won't get into like boring entrepreneurial methodologies, but what worked 10 years ago doesn't quite work right now. As evidenced by having SEO on your webpage on your website is going down in value. Everybody is seeing tremendous drops in website visits because we have this thing called ChatGPT, right? So as a guy who built a product with GPT-2 in 2019, again, before ChatGPT came out, that gave me a lot of experience in understanding what we should be building now, which is a very different question than what it is before.
Rock Solid is produced and recorded at Round Rock Studio. Located right here in Round Rock, our state-of-the-art studio is built for podcasters and creatives alike. We offer multiple professionally designed podcast sets, top-notch recording gear, and a full photography studio ready for any project. Whether you're launching a new podcast or upgrading your existing one, we can help with multi-camera recording, editing, and everything you need for success. Record with us at Round Rock Studio, your local podcasting partner.
You also mentioned, a lot about getting these people together. And, I've been, I started my career in Silicon Alley, in the early incubators in New York City. Definitely had clients in Silicon Valley, tons of them. Google's been a client, but in a bunch of smaller companies as well. I seem to have worked with all the virtual presentation companies, Zoom, WebEx. They've all been clients in GoToMeeting. They've all been clients in the past. it is not about just the networking, because the networking obviously helps, right? It's very easy. I've been Tel Aviv as well, right? You can be walking down, you meet somebody, they introduce you to an investor, and it's great. But what is it that structurally you think this Jumpstart program can do differently beyond the networking, beyond the encouragement, that's going to hopefully drive more success out of these startups than some of the others?
I'll give you 2 examples. The first one is I am actively anti-networking in the beginning. In a friendly but direct way, I will say, hey gang, first day, this is not a networking event, and will actively discourage it. I'm a strong believer that people form much tighter bonds when you're shoulder to shoulder building something together than when you're chit-chatting in a room. And again, networks are wildly powerful, but I find that those bonds are stronger when you've built something together and you're supporting one another through feedback, through introductions, through that sort of thing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of startup programs and entrepreneurship programs, they treat the end of it as the coming out party. They end on a demo day. They end on we're going to share this thing with the world. And the way I like to build programs is that we're doing that, sooner than halfway through. And the reason is that a lot of times when we first launch something, it's a whimper. Nothing happens. It's the tumbleweeds rolling across the road. It's just shouting into the void. It is the sound of crickets, right? Nothing happens. And that's normal. It's the anomalies, the ones who they're just in a line up and to the right, who they launch something and everything. Like those are wonderful to see in TikTok, but that's usually not how this works. And so by launching really, really early, it means that we have time to course correct and adjust and again
and fail.
Yeah, and given your book and your theories around elephant is one bite at a time, that's a very similar theme in the startup programs I build, which is we're gonna start quite early, and it's the iterations over time that make this work. And iteration is not necessarily a new model, but we like to use AI. We like to use these sorts of approaches to move very, very quickly. It's called Jumpstart because it'll be moving very, very fast.
Maybe we have to come up with something even faster than Jumpstart at this point. But I'm curious, you've had all these years of experience of thousands of startups through your 3-day startup and all of that, and obviously now with the ActionWorks. And you've had companies that have been funded and sold to companies like Google and others as well. What's the fastest you've seen someone go from idea to demo to revenue to on that path to success? Well,
the answer to that question is very fast. That's something like 6 or 7 hours, right? Now you're speaking with a guy who runs, I've spent a lot of 15 years of my life, 10 years of my life building 3-day startup programs. I've done that personally, 400 times in a bunch of different communities. That being said, I'm not going to pretend that in 6 hours we built a world-changing company, right? Of course. And anyone who tells you that is lying.
Yeah.
Again, in my opinion, the value is that
it's how you're defining the success.
For sure. And that the skills to get to that revenue in 6 hours is you had to go sell to a customer. You had to build a product. You had to learn the lesson that, I don't know if you have this problem, but when I was younger and had all these ideas and I would build things, I wanted everything to be perfect. The font choice mattered. If I was building a piece of software, the user interface needed to be gorgeous. And that's stupid. That is not a good use of your time. And the important thing is, does the world want this? And beyond that, are they willing to pay you for it? And so when you run sprint type programs, which this one is, we're going to get into that part very, very quickly and very lovingly, but very firmly guide you towards that process because I've built a lot of beautiful things that no one uses. And then I've built things that were very, very ugly, but they tapped into a need and importantly, customer willingness to pay. So we're going to be very, very deep into that. And then to your other point about networking, about community, is that sometimes it's actually hard to get people to talk to you, to go find someone who you don't have a great website, you may not have a massive audience, which is why I think audience building is a great thing to do. But if you don't have that, having a good community of people who you're all on the same page, a lot of times they can source some of those important early conversations to someone buying what you do, which is how you sell a product in the first 6 hours.
It was part of my motivation behind writing Be Like Amazon. Even a lemonade stand can do it. Back when Amazon first launched, it was among the ugliest sites ever. Probably still up there among ugly sites. Yet the typical Prime customer converts 22 times the average rate of any e-commerce website out there. They convert about 74%. Their technology is not 22 times better. Their people aren't 22 times smarter. There's nothing about Amazon that justifies that, except they made it way easier for people to purchase. They built on their brand promise, which was, hey, I'm going to give you a good price. And they built technology to price it, comparing to their competitors, all automated using AI years ago. They can change it down to the individual person. This is, and I haven't looked at this in years, but they were able to update the price to the individual every 6 seconds if they wanted to. They can customize the price. Great selection, great experience, and they got it to you fast.
100%. And I think that a lot of businesses, again, we over-index on those things that aren't really important. One of the things that kind of drives me nuts is when early stage businesses make great t-shirts. And they're not a t-shirt company. They're making great logo, like really well-designed stuff. And again, the kind of speed, moving quickly, finding out what people actually want and building that. And that knowing that, again, your first version of the product doesn't need to be great. It needs to be good enough and you can improve it. And now Amazon's website is perfectly beautiful, aesthetic, gets the job done, all that kind of thing. But again, not the priority.
Not the priority. I'm curious, because one of the other things that you've played around with a lot is getting founders to get on video, right, and get their messages out there. Because if they have something, they have to get it to people. They have to build some kind of an audience. What is it about seeing a founder on video, even if it's just a short clip, that reveals more about them than a pitch?
So that's a fantastic question. And I've been running a newsletter for 6 years. I love it. The written word is hard. It's hard to be funny. It's hard to convey who you are. And let's not even get into people getting very lazy with AI with their newsletters.
Yeah.
When you are on camera and you are making eye contact with the lens and you're sharing your story, who you are, the credibility and trust is there. It takes some time. We're usually a little stilted at first. We're usually not quite where we want to be, but it's one of the things like anything else. If you go to the gym and you don't have a plan, you're going to get stronger. If you are on camera and you're not even trying that much to improve, you will get better. But when that happens and there's a relationship between you and the people seeing your stuff, you have this thing that no one can take from you, right? They're buying this because they're bought into you. And again, we can call that trust. We can call that connection. We can call that whatever. But as the world gets a little more nuts, as AI disrupts all of business, I'm a strong believer that the trust of someone seeing your face and believing what you say is a really, really big deal. And I'm sure, just don't want to say before anyone watching this is saying, well, we're going to have AI video tomorrow. That's fine. It's already improving. Like right now, the compute is a little expensive for heavy-duty AI video production. But this also translates, I mean, again, I actually don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to have AI video avatars disrupting everything. But even if we do, being able to show up in Zoom and be personable, be human, be able to look at things.
Engage in a conversation like this. The AI is not going to have the same kind of conversation that you and I are going to be able to do.
And even beyond that, by the way, you and I both know, we believe in the power of storytelling, which storytelling is basically code for, we're not exchanging facts here. People don't make buying decisions based on facts and features a lot of times. A lot of times they buy buying decisions based on how they feel. And there is no better medium for getting people to feel things than being on camera and hearing your voice.
I want to circle back on something you said earlier, that building something in 2026 is very different than even 2019 and 2010. I won't go as far back as I've been building stuff. But the question I have for you is, what is one of the biggest fallacies that the startup world holds on to today that you've seen it, just you don't understand why people are still holding on to it?
Well, the answer to that question.
Should I lean back up for this one? This might be a few.
So there's just hype is a big problem. There's a lot of things we can talk about. I'll go with hype.
Okay.
If you spend any time on Instagram, on LinkedIn, there's always the death of email or the death of whatever. And that what I think is something the startup world really needs to adjust to is that the limiting factor for most of, for recent history has been being able to build the product, being able to build software, being able to build a product. That's getting faster and faster and easier. But humans' ability to adopt, the adoption curve of, customer lifecycle kind of stuff, of how many touches it takes for the customer to buy your thing, that hasn't sped up. And so I think that's what we get wrong sometimes is assuming that if we just give them the perfect offer, they'll just buy it. And there's that classic marketing rule of you need to touch someone 7 times before they can even recognize what you are and understand what you do. And that actually hasn't changed. And certainly we live in the attentional warfare era right now of we're just bombarded with messaging. But that hasn't sped up how quickly people buy things. And
Correct.
so I think patience is a virtue with this sort of thing. And I'm a big believer in if you want to start a business because in 3 years you want to exit it and make a ton of money, it's probably not going to work, and you'll be miserable. So I'm a big believer in play long-term games with long-term people. Now
you're speaking my language.
I never want to retire. I love this work. I love supporting founders, and I want to do this until my dying breath. So I'm a big believer in choose something that it's hard to win. It's hard to lose when you're having fun, right? That sort of thing.
I'm fascinated because a few things that you said that are really important here. Number one is just not buying into the hype cycle. And I want to touch in because you recently published a paper about building with AI. And you said you built something with GPT-2, so you're not unfamiliar with AI. And the two pieces that always come to mind when I think about this is one, as you said, from the consumer side, is when I was growing up, right, in college, we talked about the typical person would see about 500 marketing messages a day. By the time about 20 years ago, the early days of social media, Instagram started coming out, LinkedIn was already out, that number had crept up to about 5,000 a day. Like that was just a huge jump. Latest estimates I've heard is over 15,000 messages a day. So I think there's two things. One, the fact that you said the speed of how people buy hasn't changed. In fact, I'm almost ready to argue that it might have even slowed down because we're so overwhelmed today that if we're not breaking through that noise with clarity and trust, we're in a lot of trouble. But my big question for you on this is, okay, we're going to build with AI because AI does make things better for people. What's the biggest mistake people are making thinking that they're going to solve with AI?
I think it is incredibly hard to predict these things. So I'm going to give you my answer. My confidence interval, or it might be very different in 3 to 6 months. I've been teaching AI and teaching people how to build with AI for a few years now, and I have to rewrite the curriculum and rewrite how we do it every 3 months, which is frankly a little bit annoying, but it also means there's opportunity. It's exciting. What I see is, the Gretzky quote of "Don't skate where the puck is, skate where the puck is going." It is very hard to know where the puck is going.
Yeah.
And I can't make incredibly confident guesses about where the puck is going, but I damn sure know that it's not going to be there. And so I'm a big fan of second order thinking about where will things be in the future. So for example, I don't want to get too theoretical here, but I don't know if you heard about Javon's paradox. It's this phrase that means that if you got a 4-lane highway, or let's imagine it's Houston, so there's 16 lanes. When you build 2 more lanes, it doesn't mean that the traffic gets better.
Yeah.
It means that more people drive.
Yep.
More throughput comes through. And I think that where we're currently going now is that a lot of people are building a lot more things, and that it is really hard to imagine, well, what if intelligence is everywhere? What should we be building? If intelligence is cheap and easily accessible, what should we be building? And that's a very, very hard question. But I see a lot of people building things that sound like great ideas for 2018, which, again, what I don't know is what's the right thing to build for 2030. But I think that's what we should be building for sure. And so in lieu of having a great answer to that, it's like being an athlete and you don't know if you're going to play basketball or football, but it's good to get in the gym. It's good to eat well. It's good to be in general physical fitness and in good shape. That's the kind of stuff I try to teach. The entrepreneurial mindset of, hey, failure is okay. We can fail as long as we learn from it. And we need to learn AI, even if we're not going to become super technical or even build an AI product. Refusing to learn AI is like refusing to learn email, right? Like it's just not something you're going to do. So again, I want those kind of general entrepreneurial values and virtues to be in place so that if the future is unpredictable, whatever scenario unfolds, we're in a good spot to capitalize on.
So, we're recording here in the studio, and I've got my youngest son with me here today, 16 years old, right? He's, in high school. And I know you've taught at the college level for a while. If you're speaking to him and speaking to others in his age group in high school now, because we know that AI is going to do a lot with the workforce, what would be your advice for him?
So if I was giving advice to him, it'd be 2 things. It would be start building things and also tell that story. Make sure that you have that stuff show up online. In that, people have been screaming about this for a while, but we all know that a resume is not the full story. We all know that a LinkedIn profile is heavily doctored.
Yep.
Whereas I've been running a newsletter for 6 years. I have writing of the projects I've done that litters the internet, which is also just really nice to have that stuff show up when people search LLMs. They find my stuff because I've been publishing for a long time. But for him, employers can see, well, what can this person do? What is his GitHub like? What are his projects like? If he's not a technical person, what is he using AI just to I'm building a state of AI report for a set of nations in the Caribbean right now. And a lot of the value of it is just having it published, just having it out there so that everybody can say, oh, this guy's capable of this sort of work. So in many ways, designers live and die by their portfolio. I think using AI to build cool things and making sure that is publicly available for people to see will do more. And what that will do is give you a chance to get in the room and have that coffee conversation for it to go somewhere. Whereas a poorly worded DM or email won't necessarily give you that. And when your son sends that message, well, the person deciding if they want to meet with him is going to just do a quick Google and see, all right, what's going on? And if there's a bunch of projects out there that are interesting, that may lead to some good opportunities.
So in other words, action works.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Kind of wrapping up here. What do you hope to see? What kind of people should be applying to get involved with the Jumpstart program?
We're going to get everybody because that's always how it goes. But who it's aimed at is a lot of first-timers, a lot of people who have tried something and plateaued. A lot of people, a mistake we make in the early days is we go through all of our friends, and now our friends are like, Cam, you've been talking about this thing for the last 3 months. I've introduced you to everyone I know, man. Mm-hmm. People who've hit the plateau. And this will, again, help jumpstart back into action, right? But we'll be accepting people doing small business type projects. Some will be existing going concerns. Some people will just have an idea they've been kicking around. We're going to have a good, diverse, kind of balanced mix of folks. But what we're looking for is a history of taking action, of self-starters. People who, again, really want to be part of an active community doing this sort of thing. And people who, again, they're feeling a little bit of resistance and they think that some good guidance is going to help them actually take action. But we're going to be moving uncomfortably fast, but it'll be really, really fun.
And if you could ask from our community, how could they support you?
Well, this program's going to start in February. And we will have people bringing new ideas, building new things, products and services. And, it takes a village. So when I am sending them out in the community to go find interesting people like you who are deeply connected and have a lot of influence, I want us to support them.
Take their meeting.
Yeah. And in Texas where we live, high school football is a big deal. And everyone wants to support the QB. Mm-hmm. I want that sort of enthusiasm and support for the high school football team as for the entrepreneurs in this program, because I do think that that's, again, an advantage that Round Rock has. It's a very supportive community. I do a lot of work abroad where I've done a lot of work in countries where they actually, if someone from their country reaches out to them, they won't talk to them. Yeah. Or in Korea, mentors need to get paid. So people won't mentor unless they're getting paid. And there's a reason why their entrepreneurship ecosystems are having trouble. We don't have that problem here. So I really want to leverage that and support that. And where I hope that translates is that in a certain number of years, it could be a few, could take a while, we have more jobs, more opportunities. We have, again, Round Rock's already doing pretty well. Let's be honest here. Yeah. This is not a community that is slacking, but I would love for the wins, the momentum that are already here to be just accelerated and amplified even more. And for other communities, hopefully, to look at what we're doing. It's why we started this podcast, so they can see the kind of special people like yourself who are impacting this community. If people have more questions about what you do or about the Jumpstart program, what's the best way for them to find you? The way to find out about this stuff is my website, actionworks.co/RR, is information about this program and the application for it. There will be some people who are just raring to go, ready for it. But also, I'm 100% confident that right now there are some people who are thinking, oh, this sounds great, but I don't think I can fit in that room. And if you are that person hearing this message, just apply. there's a good theory of entrepreneurship, which is that if it costs us nothing to do, to explore as a marketing channel or to do, just do it. Like there's nothing to be lost there. So
take action.
Yeah, go ahead and play. It's a free program, by the way. We're not charging anyone. Part of the way I do this work is my customers are, they're corporates, they're universities, they're governments. But I'm always doing this work, so I don't actually have to charge entrepreneurs, because if you're an early stage entrepreneur,
capital's not what you have.
Exactly, right? So again, these are the types of programs I run. It's been designed this way. So just go ahead and apply, but it will be a blast. It will be a joy. And we're going to do this. This is a long-term thing. So if you don't get accepted for this first one, we're going to do other cohorts. And if you apply and don't get in the first one, you'll receive preferential treatment for the next one. So just apply. You have nothing to lose.
And it's a short program. It's like 4 weeks, right?
Yeah,
Something
4
like
weeks. We're going to meet one night a week at the Chamber of Commerce. But then there'll be an all-day office hours as well. That'll be a pretty guided thing. So you can just show up and co-work, or you can show up and get more feedback and guidance. But it's going to be a blast, and it's the kind of thing that I wish I'd had this when I was younger. So,
and what do you think the chances are that you'd probably want one of those that go through the program to be on a show like Rock Solid?
I think Rock Solid should just right here and now commit to having at least one of them.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Cam.
Okay, thank you so much, Brian.